guys, how's it going? YouTube threw me for a loop here because it wants me to do my live vertical with my phone, which is very weird. But hi, I was not planning on going live. This is kind of a spur of the moment thing, but I am gluing together my Mother's Day cards for my mom and my mother-in-law. And since I'm crafting, I just thought that I would come live and chat with whoever can make it. So if you've missed this and you're watching it on the replay, let me know in the comments. Just put like hashtag replay or something like that. But don't be sad, you didn't miss anything because I didn't tell you I was going live today. Honestly, I didn't plan on going live today, but here we are. So I'll give everyone a moment to join us and say hello, and then I'm gonna get started. Hi, Renee, good to see you too. And you guys, I have to tell you a funny story that I think that you'll relate to. Last night when I was cutting these cards out, it was just like, it was honestly kind of a crafter's nightmare. I just had like thing after thing after thing happen, and I'm sure that you all can relate. Now the things that happened to me have never happened before, so I was honestly really flustered about it. But I'll explain when y'all are all here. And I might even show you because it is fixable, but like I was so tired last night because of course, like every crafter, right? I'm procrastinating. I needed the card, at least one of them for today. And so of course the night before I'm making the cards. Like, of course I am, because that's how we crafters do things. We don't do things when we have plenty of time, when there's no rush, like nothing like that. We always wait until the last minute, right? But if you're joining us, make sure to say hello in the comments. Let me know if you can see me okay and hear me okay. Hopefully you can. And yeah, and I will move you guys up to my C-stand. That's what you see in the background here. I'll move you up so you guys can see what I'm doing here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to make sure to say hello first. I don't have my fancy setup today or anything like that, like I did back in the good old days, because honestly, guys, that kind of stuff takes a lot of time to set up. And now as a mom, I just have to take advantage of the moment. So when I have a moment, when things are, you know, when I have a second, I just have to go for it. And today my mom is here watching Carter, so I kind of figured that I would say hello. Hey, Tammy, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. And in fact, I do have my iPad over here so that I can read the comments, because when you guys are up above, I might not be able to see them. I'm here with my second cup of coffee today because I am tired. So we needed a little afternoon caffeine for this Friday. And then I got to get glue in here. I also thought I might use my iPad to take a look at the project in Cricut Design Space, because one piece that I'm not positive how you use it. I used one of the projects from Design Space that is like pre-loaded into Design Space. I think it's a community project though, so somebody actually made it. So when I get there, I will link it for you guys in case you still need to make a Mother's Day card for a mama in your life. Let's see if I can locate live here. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe. Where does it say that I'm live? Hold on just a second, y'all. YouTube has changed a lot, and sometimes I have trouble locating things. There we go. Good deal. All right, y'all are quiet in the comments. Make sure that you say hello if you are joining me, and I will go ahead and get started. Hello, hello. Is that Sluggerette? That's a fun name. It's not the replay just yet. I am still live, so I'm glad you're able to join us. And in fact, let me pause and grab my stand for my iPad so it doesn't come falling down on me while I craft. All right. I'll show you guys what I'm making. The craft itself is very cute. That's what made me want to make this card. I typically do a lot of my cards with the Cricut Joy, but I wanted something a little bit more formal than what I felt like the insert cards can do with the Joy, which I love. I love the Joy cards, but they definitely feel not as personal because they're really hard to personalize. So when I saw this in Design Space last night, I was like, ooh, we are making that. And like all good intentions for crafting, it kind of turned into a hot mess. So it was fun, and these cards are going to be beautiful when they're done, but man, it was kind of a mess to get here. So let me show you what the project looked like. I hope I saved it. There it is. So here's what the card looks like when it's all finished. Let me turn you all around so you can see, or I'll just show you the iPad. Can you guys see that? So it's a very, very cute card. And of course, I have different patterns and stuff than what they show here. But I thought this was a super cute card for Mother's Day. So fun. Hey, Roseanne, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I know several of you probably won't make it because I didn't advertise that I was going live because honestly, I didn't really know I was going to go live until a couple of minutes ago. So I'll set my iPad up here and we will get to working on this thing. And in fact, yeah, it probably would be best if I sit you guys up above me so that you can actually see what I'm doing. And then I will read your comments from my iPad. Let me resituate my phone holder here. YouTube really threw me for a loop because it wants me to have like my phone vertical, which is really, really unusual. That did not used to be a thing. So I had my holder here set to be horizontal. Hello, hello. Oh, good, Roseanne. I'm glad it popped up for you because you guys know sometimes YouTube alerts people that that people are live and when new videos go live, but sometimes YouTube is a rebel and nobody ever sees what I want them to see. So I'm glad that it showed you. All right. Hold on just one second, guys. I'm going to transition you up above my hands to my C stand. Oh, good, Renee. I'm glad. Sorry, I'll try to make it not very shaky, but sometimes it's a little ugly while I'm making the transition here. I plug in my charger and we will get to crafting. Well, and I think some of you get the notification if you actually have notifications turned on. Even if you actually click the bell to get notified, if you don't have notifications turned on your device, then it still won't notify you. And I think that that's the difference for many of you, is that some of you actually have the notifications like enabled on your phone. Sorry, hang on just a second. You can see my computer or my charger there. Okay. Let me wait for this thing to catch up, and that should have a pretty decent view for you all of what I'm about to glue together. So I'm making 2 of these cards today, one for my mom and one for my mother-in-law. And so I have these pieces that I have to assemble. Okay, yeah. It's not perfect, but it's decent, so that'll do. So my mom goes by Nana, and then my mother-in-law for Carter goes by Mimi. So that's what I put on each of their cards. And I really liked these little pieces of that project too. So they have, this like goes on the front of the envelope and it just says mom. So I could have changed the text here too, but obviously they're both our moms as well. So I did leave this one as is. So those will go on each of the front of the envelopes. And I think I'm going to try this, I haven't used this in a while, the Perfect Card Adhesive, because I have my Barely Arts glue, but I can't get the top unscrewed. I think that my bottle may be super clogged up. So I was just trying to keep things quick and easy. But now that I think about it, I think I do need a couple of other tools. I have my tweezers here that I will use to place some of these parts onto the card a little bit more precisely. And then I'm also going to grab some double-sided tape because I love using double-sided tape. Hang on. Right. And a pair of scissors would be helpful. think we got what we need. Tammy said, I am Nana and my son-in-law's mom is Mimi. Yep, that's our exact setup for our grandparents or grandmothers at least. And so that's what I changed these cards to. Now, originally, of course, these both said mom, so I changed them. I used, oh gosh, if you guys want to know, I can go back into the Cricut project and tell you, but I did change the font from the original project because when I typed in Mimi and Nana, they didn't look very cute. So I did change them up a little bit. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, these are going to go both on the front of the card, and I'm going to go ahead and glue these parts on first so that they have a couple of minutes to dry before I need to do anything with them. And I'll be honest, you guys, as long as I have been crafting, glue still makes me really nervous. I feel like I'm always going to get too much and mess it up. And even for the glue that like dries clear, I just don't feel like I do a very good job of gluing. I have the hardest time with that. You'll notice that I have my scoring stylus here with my Cricut Maker, and that's because I had a major party foul with my scoring wheel, which was not necessarily like the fault of the scoring wheel or really my fault, but I'll explain as we get into this process because it was crazy. Now, granted, I probably shouldn't have been crafting at all because I was so tired last night. But y'all know crafters don't always make good life choices when it comes to stuff like that. So I needed my mom's card for today. And so I was like, oh yeah, I can make that happen. And it was absolute pandemonium because my brain was way too tired to be crafting, but I tried anyways. I tried. Hi, Irma. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So I'm going to start by just trying to really carefully glue this on. And just use the tiniest little bit of glue. And sometimes I like to do dots. Dots tend to work for me so that I don't overdo it. All right. So we're going to carefully flip this over. Whoops. And place it right there. I think that looks good. And then, of course, you guys probably have noticed this. I did go ahead and weld the rest of my text together so that it was all one piece. So obviously, like Nana wasn't attached, or the N in Nana wasn't attached, but I did want my other pieces attached just to make things a little bit simpler. Hey Tracy, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. We are gluing together some Mother's Day cards that I already cut from a community project in Cricut Design Space. But since I have all my gluing still to do, I figured I would come on and say, hey, because it's been a while since I have been live. But I'm hoping to, I know I've been saying that for a long time, but I'm hoping to get on a decent schedule here soon. We do have a new babysitter, or well, Carter's first babysitter that's not family, started yesterday. And so she's going to be here Thursday afternoons. And I'm hoping that I can maybe either go live on Thursday afternoons or do some premieres on Thursdays so that I can have a more regular schedule for you all, because I miss going live and hanging out with you. So we're going to hope that that all stays consistent through the summer, and we'll see. Okay, whew. There's a lot of little tiny glue dots here. So we're just going to precisely try to place it. Let's see. Also, let me know if you guys can hear me okay, because I'm not using a microphone. I'm just relying on my phone's microphone. So if you can't hear me, let me know. And I can always try to add a mic. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Okay. There we go. So it's not perfect, but also it's kind of like that hand lettered cursive. So I think that that actually turned out pretty good. And of course the glue will dry clear, so even though you can see a little bit squishing out, that should be okay. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. I miss you guys, Irma. I miss doing regular stuff on YouTube with you and coming up with projects and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to start going live like every Thursday or anything like that, but I at least want to try and have a semi-regular schedule so that you guys know when I'm going to be here, because I also know that it's a bit easier for you guys to join me if you know when I'm going to be live. And then if you happen to be free or available, you can join me. And if not, you can always catch the replay. But I know it's more fun to do things live if you can. It actually is a little wonky for Nana, but hopefully that's okay. Sorry, Mom. It's a little wonky, but honestly, based on the time that I had last night, that's a good start. So as I'm gluing, let me start telling you that story. I apologize now for the tired mom brain, though. It's probably going to be a little disjointed because I'm super tired. So, like I said, last night I knew that I needed to make a card because my mom is here today and we're kind of celebrating Mother's Day with her today. So I was like, okay, let me scroll through Design Space on my iPad and I'll try to find what I'm going to, make for the cards this year. So I'm scrolling through and I see this project. Typically I will do the cards on my Cricut Joy, but I was like, I really want something just like, I don't know, I just wanted something a little bit more than the insert cards. Not to insult insert cards, because I love insert cards, but I think y'all probably know what I'm talking about. If you have a Cricut Joy, they're not the most formal looking, and you also can't customize them for the most part. So like if they say mom or whatever, you can't undo that. So I really wanted these to say Mimi and Nana because this is my, mother-in-law and my mom's first Mother's Day being grandparents. I'm going to set this one next to it so that I can try to keep them the same height, approximately. So anyway, so I was looking through Design Space and I see this card and I'm like, oh, that is perfect. That's exactly what I want to make. So I set my sights on this and I'm like, okay, great. Well, then I'm just going to do a little bit of the work on my iPad. And I had actually kind of planned to cut the project out on my iPad, but I don't know about you guys, but I don't really love the mobile apps of Cricut Design Space. I sometimes will play with them a little bit, but I end up getting on my computer almost every single time. Oh, thank you, Renee. I'm very excited to have my first Mother's Day this weekend. So it's definitely a fun weekend for all of us as we celebrate our first ones as my mom and my mother-in-law as grandparents and me as a mom. So it's definitely an exciting one. But anyway, so I get on my iPad, I'm playing around, and then I end up going to my computer because that just wasn't, I couldn't get all the layers and the colors and stuff figured out. And I find it kind of difficult on my mobile app, to be honest. So I was like, okay, let me just open my computer and we'll get started. So I'm cutting out what feels like 15 bajillion parts, even though none of them were complicated. And all of a sudden, on my Cricut Maker 3, my light starts blinking red and white. And if you all know about that little red light, back when Xboxes were really popular, which I guess they still are, but I don't know if you guys remember those being called the red ring of death. When like the light on your machine blinks red. So in my brain, I'm like, oh no, I have the red ring of death. What's wrong with my Cricut Maker? Like, how could this be? So I'm like kind of frantically trying to figure out what's going on with it. But I'm like, okay, Alex, remember, you have a lot of Cricut machines. So instead of trying to stress about what's wrong, why don't you just get out another one? So I get out my original Cricut Maker, which is this one right here. And I try to continue through the project when I put my scoring wheel. So that's the step I was on, is I was cutting these envelopes, which needed a scoring wheel and the blade. And I put the scoring wheel in my maker and it says that it can't detect my tool. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Like, why is this being so difficult? I don't understand. Also, keep in mind it's 11:30. Okay, so mama needs to go to bed. I'm exhausted. But I knew that I at least needed to get the stuff cut last night, because it wasn't going to happen if I waited until today. So I am trying to figure out what's going on, and I go to take the scoring wheel out of my Cricut Maker to see why it can't detect the tool, and I realized that the tip is gone. And so what happened in my Cricut Maker 3 is that the tip of the oh my gosh, of the housing, you know, the scoring wheel housing, had fallen off down inside my Cricut Maker 3. And that's why I was getting the red ring of death, because the red ring of death means that there is a jam in the machine. So even though I couldn't see it and I was too tired to realize it in the moment, that's what the problem was that there was something jammed and I couldn't see it. So my scoring wheel tip is wedged down inside my Maker 3. So I need to figure out how to get it out, and I'm trying not to be too crazy stressed about it. But on one hand, even though that is stressful and I'll have to figure out how to get it out, on the other hand, I was kind of relieved, because I was like, okay, good. That means that my machine is not like broken, you know, like I can fix this. Even though it's going to be a pain, I can definitely fix this issue. And I just happen to have a backup Cricut Maker, which I'm really, really grateful for. So that part worked out really well, but I found that not only kind of funny now that I am not so tired and stressed, but also I've never had that happen before. Have you guys ever had one of your quick swap, that's what they're called, quick swap housings, drop your tool? Because typically, like, since that's what I use the most is my scoring wheel. So in my quick swap housing, I don't change it out very often. I mostly just keep the scoring wheel on the bottom. And I store all of my tools inside the drawer of my Cricut Maker. So I never think to check and make sure that my scoring wheel is like stuck up on the quick swap housing. I just stick that thing in my machine and go. And so I ended up, once I realized what happened, I ended up going into Design Space and changing the tool to the scoring stylus. And I was able to use my scoring stylus in my Cricut Maker. So thank goodness for that. But I've heard people say before that in the Cricut Maker, they prefer the scoring stylus over the scoring wheel. And even though I don't necessarily think that that's true, the one thing that I noticed about using my scoring stylus in my Maker is that I was able, here, I'll show you guys. What I was able to do is, because, I don't know if you can see that part of my machine here on the screen, but because the scoring wheel goes in the clamp A, you can keep your blade in clamp B. So one thing that's really nice is I didn't have to do the whole scoring step, wait, and then put my blade in. I was able to score and cut all with just one step of, one push of the button, if that makes sense. So I thought that was an interesting take. I have never switched that out before because I wasn't interested in that. I didn't really care because I have a scoring wheel. But I thought that was really interesting, because I don't know about you, but I don't like just standing here at my machine to have to, like, okay, do a step that takes like 1 second and then turn around and, you know, change out the tool and then press go again. If you do it this way, you can score and you can cut all at once. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I don't know. That was my night last night. And I was terrified that I was going to lose the little eyes and Mimi. But I was like, you know what? If I glue this tonight, I am going to definitely mess it up because I'm way too tired to be playing with this. So that's my funny, not so funny story of how crafting went last night for me. But I would love to hear from you guys if you've had any, first of all, let me know if you've had any crazy things happen that, like your quick swap housing falling down inside your Cricut, anything like that. Or have you ever had your quick swap housing like fall down off of your tool before? Because I just thought that was so weird. I was not expecting that whatsoever. All right, so these are done. So the next piece that I will probably do, actually might be my envelopes. I'll probably go ahead and fold together my envelopes. So I know this might be a little hard to see on the camera, but I do have all my scoring lines here already scored in my envelope. So I'm just going to take all of the pieces, fold along the lines, and then I'm going to set the crease using a bone folder. And that's something that I love about some of the projects in Cricut Design Space, whether they're community projects or actual Cricut projects, is that they come with an envelope that's already sized for your card, which makes it so nice and convenient to give the card. Because I love making custom cards, but I kind of hate when I have to scramble for an envelope. So it is my favorite thing when everything's already included. And y'all can let me know if you want me to share the project with you. I can try to find the share link outside of Design Space and drop it in the comments, and also add it in the description for you if you want to use it for your mom. So this is the way that the envelope is going to go. There we go. I think, right? Yeah, my crease just isn't fully set there. So this is the way that the envelope is going to be set up. And all I need to do is glue the sides right here so that they stick onto these flaps. Diana Hegseth, hi. She said, miss watching you, Alex. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. How is baby doing? So baby Carter is 8 months old, you guys. Can you believe that? 8 months old, and he is so much fun. He is absolutely wild. Absolutely wild, but so much fun. He keeps me so very busy, but I am so grateful to be spending all of this time with him because he is just a blast. He's doing great. So what I tend to do with envelopes is I don't like to use glue because A, I'm impatient and I don't like to wait for it to dry. And B, I like to just go ahead and be able to use my envelope right away. And I don't have to worry about anything spilling. So what I like to do is just use a little bit of double-sided tape as close to the edge as I can possibly get it, because you don't want this tape to stick outside of this area right here so it doesn't actually stick to your card. So this is my favorite way to do envelopes. So that's just personal preference though. I'm super sloppy with glue, so I kind of avoid using it whenever I can. So we'll go as close to this edge as we can. There we go. So I have these parts set right here, and then what I'll probably do is I'll just put a little tiny piece on the back of the envelope flap, and then when I'm ready to close up the envelope, I will remove the paper. But in the meantime, I will just leave the white paper on the back side. Just like that. Okay. So then I will pull this piece off here. And this piece off here. And stick that baby on there. Diana said, I buy those double back tapes and Dollar Tree, $1.25 store. Love it. Yes, I agree. I do too. I especially love the 3D foam dots from Dollar Tree are like my favorite thing to buy there, because honestly, they're the same price no matter, they're the same product no matter where you get them from. But I love to buy those there. I bought this pack of different widths of double-sided tape from Amazon years and years ago, and I'm still using it, and I have tons and tons left. It came with like 6 or 8 rolls in different widths. So I can link that for you guys in the description too if you want to get like a huge Mac Daddy order of that stuff. But I definitely love using those supplies from Dollar Tree. Absolutely. Hi Dottie, welcome from North Carolina. Oh, good thinking, Renee, Kristen. Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there. Any and all mamas, no matter who you're a mama of, or how you got your babies, if they're adopted babies or anything. Happy Mother's Day to you. All right, so here's this envelope here. This is all ready to go. I sometimes will kind of feel inside the envelope though and make sure I don't have any tape on the inside so that my card doesn't get stuck and get ruined. So here's this, and then we're just gonna take this little piece right here and use double-sided tape to put this on the front. Obviously, if you're mailing your card, don't put this on the front because it might get stuck in the mail machine. But if you're able to give it in person, that of course is ideal. And hopefully you get to celebrate with your mom, or maybe you're a grandma and you get to celebrate with your daughter or daughter-in-law this weekend. All the things. Okay. So there's envelope number 1, ready for a card. We'll go ahead and do this other envelope, and I'll go a little quicker this time since I've already talked you all through how I do this. What are you guys working on for Mother's Day, or in general? Let me know what you're crafting in the comments because I would love to hear. If you guys have been following along on Instagram, then you have seen that I am learning to sew. So I haven't been using my Cricut a whole lot because I've been playing with my mom's sewing machine, and I am having the best time of my life learning to sew, you guys. When this is over and when I'm done with all this, I'll show you guys what I've made so far. It's not a whole lot. I've just been kind of practicing my skills, but I have had so much fun learning something completely new. Now granted, I have used a sewing machine before and things like that, but I have not really used it on my own, if that makes sense. Like, I remember back in maybe 9th grade, we learned to make like a pair of shorts in my home ec class, but I basically was just following the directions from the teacher, and also that was like, 20 years ago or something. So it's been a while, and I've never actually tried to do it on my own before. So my mom has been helping me because it is her sewing machine. So I've been asking her a couple questions. But I was able to find the manual online because the machine that I have is a 1980s Singer. So it's not something that you can buy, new at the store anymore. But I wanted the manual because it obviously has some information about the sewing machine that makes things a little bit easier if you can look it up. So I was able to actually find the manual and download it, which made a huge difference. And then most things in the sewing machine world, a sewing machine is a sewing machine. So a lot of the tutorials that I found online, even though they're not specific to my machine, they pretty much, tell me what to do. I just have to occasionally, look things up in the manual or make small adjustments for the specific machine that I have. So that's been super fun. Oh, wait. I can't take the paper off there yet. I need to go ahead and fold that flap in. There we go, I think. Yeah. There we go. So sometimes, this was something that I did not appreciate before I started paper crafting a whole lot, but it is really helpful to be able to set your crease with something like a bone folder because it just makes things a lot more crisp. If you just were to fold it down with your fingers, that will certainly work, but it just looks way better if you're able to set the crease with something like this, or you could really even probably take your squeegee tool or something along the lines and really firm up that crease. All right. And then we're gonna add Mom to the front of that. Kristen said, bobbin tension for sewing is always my issue anytime I've sewn with a sewing machine. And that was definitely tricky for me, Kristen. I had to troubleshoot a little bit too. I was literally learning how to wind a bobbin, how to, stick it in there, all that kind of stuff. And I don't really even remember how I figured it out. I think I just kept watching tutorials until I got everything going. I had a little bit of trouble getting the thread up from the bottom of the machine. Hold on, sorry, I can't talk and do this at the same time. I had a little bit of trouble getting the thread to come up through the top of the machine. But that's what I ended up like looking up stuff in the manual, because the tutorials I was seeing weren't quite in line with exactly how my machine worked. So it is definitely a little bit tricky, and there's a lot to learn about sewing. So yeah, but there's 2 of my envelopes. So both of those are ready. And now we're gonna work on the inside of the card. So I'm pretty sure the way that this is gonna work is that this is gonna fold in half. And then I think this white part goes on the inside. I was trying to determine whether or not this was an envelope liner or whether this was for the inside of the card, but I'm pretty sure it goes on the inside of the card. We're gonna fold it and try it, but I think so. Which is good, because this pretty pattern paper that I have is not super thick, so the idea of having a second layer will definitely make it a lot nicer. Let me know in the comments if you guys sew, because I would love to hear if you guys are interested in that as I'm learning, if you want to learn along with me, or if that's not something that you're interested in. Yeah, I'm sure that that's what goes in there. Yeah. Because they're like pretty much perfect. Thanks, Kristen. She said the pattern paper is very you. You know, I debated and I went through all of my pattern paper, because I can't be a crafter and just like pick something. I have to look through every single thing that I have to see what's the perfect fit. And I ended up doing this, and I was like, this is actually very classic Alex. So you hit the nail on the head there, Kristen. This is exactly what I would pick. And so then you'll open it up and it'll look like this. And that'll make the card feel thicker and nicer. The only thing I will tell you guys, whenever I make cards, if you guys have a tip for this, I'd love to hear. I always have a hard time gluing this in or taping it in so that there's not any like weird tension when you open the card. I feel like lining up the creases here is always really challenging, because it feels to me like no matter what you do, I always get like some like funky separation between the two of them. I don't know. Tracy said, I have a sewing machine and can barely sew a straight line, but I have made a few basic things. Yeah, and I feel you, Tracy, because I know that you guys have not heard me talk about that, so it might seem random to you, but I've been talking to my mom about wanting to learn how to sew like truly on my own for a couple of years at this point. And I went through this whole thing where I wanted to use my grandma's sewing machine. So my dad's mom gave my mom the sewing machine before she passed, because she wanted to make sure that it stayed in the family. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be so cool to like sew on my grandma's, you know, really old sewing machine. But what I didn't know is that my grandma's sewing machine is from 1936. So it is like really, really super, super old. I didn't realize it was quite that old. And it's like, it's cast iron and like just barely automatic. Like some other sewing machines similar to it are manual, where you have to pump the pedal in order to move the machine. So when I saw that, when we investigated it a little bit closer, I was like, oh no, because it was inside one of those sewing cabinets. So I knew my mom had it, but we didn't take a look at it closely until I was about ready to try it. And then I was like, okay, that's probably a little more than I bargained for, because I don't know where I'm going to find tutorials to learn how to use a sewing machine like that. So that's how I ended up with my mom's sewing machine. But until I started playing around with it, I really had no sewing skills on my own. But I am having like the time of my life trying to figure it out. Renee said, I've been sewing for a while now, over 26 years. Sewing straight is not easy. That's right. I know. It's really not. And like, I have always had a lot of admiration for people who sew. So Renee, that's incredible that you've been sewing that long. And I just think that like, it's just so fascinating. It's just a completely different way to think about it. And it's so stinking cool. Yeah, Kristen, I did share a picture here on social media. Hold on. I think I have my work phone here where I have my social media apps. Let me see if I can find a picture of it and I'll show you guys what it looked like because it's just incredible. Check this thing out. Let me see. I can't see it on the screen yet. It's like got a little bit of a lag there. Hopefully you guys can see it with the glare there. Isn't that so cool? It's like the coolest sewing machine. Okay, you guys can see it. So it's like cast iron and all that stuff. And so originally when my mom said she found it, she was like, I'm kind of scared to plug it in. Because she was worried it wasn't going to work, or, you know, that the electricity, like the wiring was going to catch on fire or something. And so it took a little bit of figuring things out, but she ended up putting in the model number to figure out what year it was from. And that's when it says 1936. And I was like, okay, that might be a little bit more than I bargained for. So I have my mom's 1980s Singer. I'll probably eventually buy my own sewing machine, but I honestly just wanted to make sure that it was going to be something that I enjoyed and something that I honestly have time for, because as you guys know, being a young mom, I don't have a ton of time for crafts and stuff like that, besides my business, of course. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I know, Kristen, like it just needs to be sitting out because it's just beautiful, honestly. Thanks, Irma. She said, nice sewing machine. And that's why, like, it was down in the cabinet, so neither of us realized, like, how, like, that it was, like, an old cast iron one. I had no idea. So, very cool and exciting, but also a little out of my league. So, plus, the other thing that you guys will understand is with taking on sewing, I'm going to have to rearrange my craft room somehow so that I can fit more stuff in here, because I am at max capacity with the space that I have. So I'm going to have to find, I'm probably honestly going to have to get rid of something. And what I am thinking about doing is I'm thinking about getting rid of my cup turner station and a lot of my epoxy and stuff like that, mostly because I'm just not really doing it anymore. I don't have anything against it or anything like that. I just am not really doing anything with it these days. All right, guys, I'm going to be gutsy and try to glue this. Hopefully that won't cause any like weird gaping. Or if you guys have any tips about gluing cards inside other cards, let me know, because I feel like I've never done a good job with this. Yes, Renee, that's the other problem, is this sewing machine's extremely heavy, and the little desk that I have from Michael's that I was planning on putting it on will not hold that sewing machine. So that was another issue, like just logistically, it wasn't going to work out very well. But anyway, so I'm thinking about getting rid of my epoxy cup turning station, because I just haven't used that stuff in a long time. And like I said, I don't have a problem with it. It's just not really the season that I'm in. I don't really have the time or the space to make stuff that takes 3 days to make, you know? So I don't know for sure if that's what I'm going to do, but I think I'm probably going to, okay. So you use tape strips or glue runners. So Kristen, you guys want to know something funny about me? I can't use a tape runner. I literally don't understand how. And every time I get out of control with a glue runner, so I never used one well, so I don't use them. I know that's so embarrassing and funny to admit, because you're like, holy cow, Alex, you're literally a professional crafter and you can't use a tape runner. That's correct. So we're gonna have to hope this works. I have more of this paper though if it doesn't, but still. And then, yeah, I just did some little dots and you're probably going to be able to see them. But then when I glue them on here, this will look like this when it's all done. So that's the design we're going for. So now that I have one side in, it's going to be easier for me to do this side. Hi, Dee. Welcome. Welcome. So we'll see. That's what I'm thinking I am going to do as far as getting rid of things and rearranging, is getting rid of my epoxy station in favor of sewing supplies. I also contemplated, you guys may have seen in my Facebook group, I contemplated getting a laser and putting a laser over in that area because it's right next to the window. But honestly,
You guys didn't really seem to be super interested in lasers, and I just don't know if I have quite the time and the capacity to learn a laser. And now you might be thinking, well, how can you learn how to sew but you don't have time for a laser? The difference between a sewing machine and a laser is that a laser can burn your house down. Like it's a lot more going on than just learning how to do the process. You have to consider all the safety and all those kinds of things. And I am not at all against lasers. I think they're very cool and that they do a lot of I think that they do a lot of amazing things, and that is why I would love to have one. It's just that at this season of my life, while I have a little kid here in my house, I'm not super comfortable having the fumes of a laser in the air in my home. So that's something that kind of factored into my decision as well, because I thought really, really, really hard about it. And maybe in the future, we'll get there at some point. I don't know. But for right now, I just don't think that I'm in the season for that. So sewing was something that I really wanted to do. Agreed, Roseanne. Sewing is also more practical than a laser. Clothes are a necessity. I agree completely. Because that's the other thing too, is not only do I want to do things because obviously it's fun to do things for your own creativity, but my job is to do things that you guys are interested in too. So not only do I need to feed my own creative brain, I also want to work on and learn new things that you guys might be interested or might benefit you, because this is my job and my business. And I figured that not only is sewing more practical, but many of you can get started in sewing if you decided that you want to for like a couple $100. Like the machines that I saw at Walmart are like $200 or less for the most part. So that's much more practical for those of you who either don't own a sewing machine yet and you might want to, or if you want to get started in the future, that's just a lot more realistic, especially with today's economy. I mean, we honestly can't be completely tone deaf to that. As much as we would love to spend unlimited money on our craft supplies, we all know that things are becoming more expensive, not less. So doing things like buying a laser is probably not practical for a lot of people right now. That's true. Kristen said so many others do lasers. Sewing would be neat to at least follow. Well, I'm glad you think so because I hope to maybe make some sewing tutorials if you guys are interested in it. Because I just think it's really, really cool. I just think that there's so much you can do with it. I think that a lot of those older skills are lost arts for a lot of ways. And so I would love to be somebody who brings that back. Somebody else who does this, honestly, you guys, someone I really look up to in the craft community is Sweet Red Poppy. I don't know if you guys know Kim Coffin from Sweet Red Poppy. I don't know her personally, but I really admire her content. She makes beautiful things and she is an extremely talented sewist. And so she's somebody that I look up to in the craft community who does this. Dee said, what'd you say? Kristen said, or just even hand sewing. That's right, that's true. And a lot of the simple projects you absolutely could hand sew if you really wanted to, especially if you're not sure you want to get started with the sewing machine. I really love how fairly simple things can be with it. Whereas a laser, you got to look at safety, you got to look at airflow, you got to look at capacity. Lasers are heavy, which one do you want? Whereas a lot of these things are a lot simpler. Dee said, sewing is a lot of fun when you make things that you like. Exactly. I think it's very cool. Roseanne said, I've been sewing since I was young. I even had a sewing business for a while, but gave up the business. Sewing for other people was not fun. I totally understand that, Roseanne. Even when it's something that you love, making it for a business for other people is hard. It's just not the same as sewing for yourself. Renee said lasers are cool and all, but I would probably never purchase one. I honestly, Renee, I figured that most people are in your camp. And that's what I had a really good discussion with some of you who are here in my Facebook group about would you guys be interested in lasers? And most people said, honestly, probably not. There was a handful of you that said you were, but most people were like, yeah, probably not. And so, my job is to follow what you're interested in And so that's when I kind of was like, I think it's time for me to start taking this on. Now, granted, of course, I'm still learning, so I don't have the authority, I don't feel, to teach just yet because I'm still so green. But I'm hoping to make a few things and get started, and then maybe I'll put out some sewing tutorials for you all if that's what you want to see. After all, it kind of works out because my brand's name is DIY Alex, and sewing is definitely very DIY. Even if it's not necessarily Cricut crafts, it's still very much DIY. Oh, cool. I'm catching up on your all's comments. Roseanne said, I made clothes for my family. We did a lot of matching clothes. Yes, I've thought about that. And like the things I could make for Carter would be so cute. Because if you guys have boys or if you have grandsons, I'm sure you've noticed that the stuff for boys is not nearly as cute, or there are not nearly as many options as stuff for girls. And so I would love to be able to make like some really pretty outfits for Carter for special holidays and stuff like that, because you just can't find stuff in the store. Dee said, I made my girls Easter dresses. Oh, how cute. Kristen said, a bonus with small enough projects, Cricut can cut the material. Yes, I had the same thought, Kristen. And I actually looked already in Design Space for patterns that are already like loaded in, since I'm still learning. And there were not a lot of options, or at least not things that I wanted to do. The things that I saw in Cricut Design Space were so complicated that I was like, absolutely not. Like for example, one thing that I'm really excited to make is an apron. So I found a blog post that has a free pattern with it that I have, I've printed it off, but I haven't actually assembled it yet. But like the apron pattern that I found in Design Space had like all these panels in it. And I was like, whoa, 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 I am not ready to do that yet. Maybe one day, but now is not the time. So maybe if I can figure this out and I can get things, in good working order, maybe I can show you guys how to use your Cricut to cut fabric on your machine, and then I can show you how to sew it. So I thought about that too, Kristen, and ways we can involve our Cricut machines. Yeah, exactly. Making masks was when it really became popular too. I remember that. Renee said, I taught myself to sew many years ago, way before YouTube, and loved making my kids' Halloween costumes. Renee, that's exactly one of the things that I said too. I've heard many people say that they made their kids' Halloween costumes, and I think it would be so much fun for me to be able to do that for Carter. Like, what a cool memory. Plus, I know that like when my husband was growing up, he has a couple of Halloween costumes that his grandmother made that his parents still have. And so I would just love to be able to make stuff that can be like passed down in my family. Just things that are just really special. It's so cool. Roseanne said, I made my son a complete engineer outfit, including the hat. Oh, how cute. It's so cool. And in my grandma, obviously you guys know she had that sewing machine, but she was an incredible sewist, which I think a lot of people were, especially in her generation, because basically it was a life skill that people had to have. But she not only made clothes for my dad and for all of his siblings, but also she was a doll collector. So she made doll clothes, like all different kinds of things. She was amazing at it. And I remember sewing with her once or twice. But my dad was the youngest of all of her kids, and my grandparents lived in Nebraska, and I grew up in Cincinnati. So I sewed with my grandma a time or two, but honestly, I was like 10 years old. So I remember threading the needle for her because I could see better than she could. But for the most part, like, I didn't see her often enough to really genuinely learn how to sew, which is really, really sad. I wish that I could have learned from her, because I think the idea of being able to teach the younger generations how to do it in person is so valuable. And so I wish that I could have learned from her, but she unfortunately passed when I was a freshman in college. So it's been a while. And even before then, she was up in her 90s. So, that era had passed for her. But I would love to be able to teach other people how to sew, because like I said, I just think it's such a lost art, and it would just be such a cool way not only to use our Cricut machines, but it's just something different, something fun. And I love my Cricut machines. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. But I just like the idea of trying something different too. We've got Cricut stuff, we've got sublimation stuff, we have DTF, all those kinds of things. And I would love to add sewing kind of to my resume. Wow, Dee, she said she made her daughter's prom dresses last minute. That's so cool. Look at you both. That's so awesome. Kathy said, I do both sewing and Cricut. Recently, I made a tote bag with pictures of infusible ink and add the lining in the tote. No to the laser machine. Yes to how to cut fabric on your Cricut. Well, good to know. I'm glad you guys are excited about that. I think that can be really cool. And I just love how practical it is. Not that Cricut stuff isn't practical, because obviously doing things like making Cricut cards is really practical too. But the idea of sewing just sounds really fun to me. And I've been having the best time. So now that these have dried for a minute, I may go ahead and glue the front panels on, and then I'm gonna kind of leave them up to dry for a while before I try to put them in the envelopes. And yes, I will say that in order to cut fabric with a Cricut, one thing I do want to note is that you need a Cricut Maker to do so. Now, you can cut bonded fabric on the Explorer machines, but I have not heard of a lot of people doing that. Not to say that you can't, but it's not going to be nearly as effective as using a Cricut machine with the rotary blade, because that is actually meant to cut fabric. So if you're interested in that, or you think you might want to do that, a Cricut Maker or Maker 3, either one is necessary so that you can use the rotary blade. That's true, Tracy. You could sublimate on fabric and then sew a blanket or something. That's so true. Ooh, oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. So something else we could do is make, yeah, like a pillow cover. So what if you did like a sublimation print of a bunch of pictures or something on a pillow, and then you could basically just sew in a hem and then sew the back pieces, and you can make yourself a custom pillow cover, like literally from scratch. How cool would that be? Roseanne said, my wedding dress and my sister's maid of honor dress were both made at home. Yeah, my grandma made her wedding dress and everything like that too. I think it's such a beautiful thing and such a lost art that I would love to bring that back. Plus, honestly, as the economy gets tighter and things like that, I think that life skills like sewing and learning how to make things yourself at home are going to be essential for a lot of people, especially like in my era, families, where things are getting expensive, and kids want different things for school and Halloween costumes and stuff like that. Even though, of course, it's a lot more time consuming, learning how to make those things at home, I think, is going to be a lot more helpful for a lot of families than, than things like using a laser. And again, I'm not knocking lasers. I think they're very cool. And creatively, I would love to invest in one. But I just don't think I have the time or the capacity to do that in the season in my life. But also, because you guys are not really interested in lasers for the most part, I don't want to do things that you guys are not interested in, because I am here to serve you. So, and something I did learn though recently, which might be of interest to some of you, is that here in Louisville, some of the local Louisville libraries have lasers in their maker spaces that you can go and use yourself. So if you wanted to experiment with a laser, you could go buy the materials, somewhere like Michael's or online. And then you could go to your local library, if your library has one, and use a laser in the maker space so that you can play with it and learn how to use it. But then you don't have to worry about the safety or the startup cost. You literally just pay for your materials. So that was an option that I considered too, that I might pursue in the future, so that I don't have to worry about the setup here at my house, but I can still practice and play with some of the materials and stuff. So there's our finished card for one. Of course, I still have to write in, and I didn't bother doing that part, but how cool. And when you make cards on your Cricut and you're putting a second piece inside, this would be a great opportunity for you to write inside the card. So I want to do a tutorial on that soon, but you guys ask often how you can get writing inside your cards, and one of the easiest ways to do that would be to add a piece like this and then just put the writing on one side and attach it. And then you could do all your writing, you could score it and cut it out, and then just glue it inside your card. So very cool. Thanks, Dee. Kristen said one of your local libraries does. I've taken classes for introduction so I can reserve either time on the Glowforge or 3D printer. Exactly, Kristen. And what a cool way, for you to experiment and like take a part in that, but without having to do all of that yourself. You know, I just think that's such a neat feature. Of the local libraries, and I didn't realize it because I was just, I don't know, I was clicking around. I think I was looking for different story times at the libraries here in our area because I like to take Carter to story time, and I was trying to figure out which ones would line up for our schedule the best. And that's when I saw that the Maker Spaces had a Glowforge, and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool! A 3D printer would be fun too. So I just think that's super cool. I haven't done the little orientation though, in order to be able to reserve a time, because my library is the same way. You have to take a class first, I'm sure, to talk about safety and stuff like that. Because again, as cool as I think all that stuff is, it is definitely a serious thing that you need to, know about safety and stuff too. It's not just something that you can just buy and set up like a Cricut machine. You need to know what you're looking at, especially in your home, to make sure that you're not inhaling toxic fumes. So even though I think it's very cool and totally worth it, it's definitely not something to take super lightly. All right, guys, let me stick this panel on here. Oh, here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up on the table to make sure that it is perfectly square with the bottom. And there we go. Oh, that's a good point. I don't know how to say your name. Gwindor, is that right? Said specially laser engravers and resin printers must have decent security protocol. Exactly. That's a great point. So I think it's great that they do the little orientation thing too, because that's super, super important. But I just love the idea of being able to go use it for free and all you have to do is pay for the materials. Like, what a great idea. Dee said, Alex, have you thought about making quilts? You know, Dee, I haven't, but my grandma made some really, really beautiful ones, and I would love to learn how to do that. That might be something in the future, too, that I learn to do. I don't know. Who knows? That might be. But yeah, I just think it's all that stuff is such a lost art. And so I would just love to bring that back and make it popular. And it would be fun and creative and helpful in the way that our economy is going. And I know a lot of people are, financially things are tight and they're a struggle. So wouldn't it be great to be able to teach people life skills that are fun, but also helpful and important? Things like making curtains and clothes and really just so much. Home decor, all the things. Yeah, Dee, please let me know. Let me know who does quilting that you'd like to watch, because I would love to see. Absolutely. I don't know why I chose bright yellow envelopes, you guys. I guess because it was late at night. But I wanted something. So the envelopes mat was the only one that I used a 12 by 24 mat and paper with, and so I was just trying to pick a color that would kind of go along with my color scheme, but that is a really, really bright yellow. But either way, that's what my cards look like. So here's one for my mother-in-law and my mom, and here's the envelopes. Let's double check that they're gonna fit in there. Oh yeah, perfect. See, it looks like they're gonna fit great. So this was actually a community project. My guess would be that if you don't have Cricut Access, you probably would have to pay for some of these elements. I don't know that for sure. I didn't check. But because I'm a Cricut Access member, I was able to make this project without paying for it. So of course, no pressure to purchase Cricut Access for you guys. That's totally up to you. But I do find for things like this especially, it is really helpful to have on hand, because then I can just quickly just kind of add things to my canvas and start making them without having to worry about all of the design work. Roseanne said, I have not found any libraries here, which is crazy being in California. Yeah, actually, that is really crazy, Roseanne. You would think that they would be one of the first ones to adopt that. Oh, you know what, Dee? Isn't that your friend April? Yes, I would love to. I'll definitely have to subscribe to her channel. Thank you, Irma. I'm so glad you like them. That's so cool. I'll definitely have to watch her, Renee. Okay, Library Friends is where it comes from. Wow, that is so cool, Dee. Man, that's so awesome. Hey, Kat. Yes, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I can absolutely link you to where I got the card from. Let me show you. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like my straightforward projects. You're so sweet. Yeah, Dee, that's totally fine that you promote your friends. Absolutely. I would definitely do the same if I had friends who had sewing YouTube channels. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try and share this with you all. Let me see if I can get the link for outside of Design Space, though. How do you do it? Okay, let me see. Yeah, there are several different Cricut Access things here. So that means that in this project, you would have to have Cricut Access in order to use it. You guys, I don't know how to do this on my iPad. It's easy to do on the computer, but I think it's a little harder. Let me figure this out for you all. Hold on just a second. Or wait a minute, what if I just do that? There we go. Let's try this and I'll see if this works. Let's see if you all can click it from there. You guys let me know if that works. Hey there, precious pieces. I am doing great and my sweet boy is doing so well. Thank you so much for asking. In fact, let me show you all a picture. Not that I can resist bragging about my little guy. My mom is watching him and playing with him today while I'm working. Let's see, here's a picture of him last night. I gave him some avocado and he just looks so cute eating it and getting avocado all over the place. He's just too cute. So that's my little guy. He's 8 months old, which I can't even believe. So crazy. Oh, you guys, so I live in Louisville. You probably know that. And we made the cutest little craft at story time. We made this little horsey out of paper. And so I took pictures of him for the Kentucky Derby. And oh my gosh, he was so cute. Is that not the cutest thing ever? I mean, come on. Oh, he's the most, I think, obviously I'm biased, but I think he's the cutest baby in the whole entire world. So all he likes to do is put the horsey in his mouth. Basically everything he just puts in his mouth. But that little horse we made at story time works so perfect for his little Kentucky Derby outfit, which is honestly the same outfit I bought for Easter. But he's a cutie. He's growing up so fast, I can't even believe it. Oh, thank you guys. I think he's pretty cute too, but I'm a little biased. Okay, good, Kristen. I'm glad the link works. Yeah. So I'll see if I can, let me see if it'll let me pin it from here. I don't know that it will. I may have to do that from the computer. Oh, there we go. Pin message. That way you guys can easily find it. Like I said, it's a community project, so another Cricut user made it. But that's all I've got for the cards and all the things. So if you guys don't have any other questions, let me know. You're welcome, Dee. I'm glad you like them. Thank you. Hopefully my mom and my mother-in-law will like them. Mom and Becky, please don't watch this video if you don't want to see your cards ruined. They'll get them really soon though, so they'll get them probably before they see this. Irma said I took tons of pictures of my 3 kids when they were younger. Now I take pictures of my 4 grandkids. Yeah, It's so much fun. Um, Obviously, I'm not a grandparent yet. I am just his mom, but it's been very fun to see my parents and my in-laws become grandparents and the relationship that they have with Carter and how happy he is always to see them. So it's been really a lot of fun, just in so many different ways. So we have a lot of fun. We also, if you guys don't know about this app, it's called the Family Albums app. I'll drop it in the comments. We use this app to share pictures between all of us. So I have it set up so that my husband and I can upload different pictures, and then all the grandparents can upload pictures as well into the same album. And since we live in different cities, it's really fun for us to be able to share pictures of Carter and just of family things, and it's really, really great, and it's free. So it's a great app to have if you guys have grandparents, especially, or excuse me, if you guys have grandkids, or if you live in a different city than where your grandkids are. This way you can keep all your pictures together, and it's totally free. No D, it's not a link. So it's a family albums app. And then you just download it from the App Store. And it's totally free. Unless you want to have the upgraded plan. So definitely not sponsored or anything, but hey, family albums, if you ever watch this, please do, because that would be super cool. But anyway, what you're able to do is you can upload all your pictures, and then if you want to use the free version, then you can upload videos up to 3 minutes. And then everybody can see everything that you add. You can comment on pictures and all different kinds of stuff, but it's been really helpful for us since my in-laws live a couple hours away. And even though my mom comes and visits a lot, she lives 2 hours away too. And so does my dad. So it's been really nice to be able to keep all the stuff together. And especially when my in-laws really miss Carter, they're able to go into the album and look at all the pictures we take, for all the things. So that's my little tip for you guys. If you have grandkids, or if you're a mom and you want to be able to share, photos with your in-laws or your parents, it's been really, really fun to get that set up and get that going. But that's all I've got for you guys. So I think that I am going to wrap things up. Thank you so, so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms and grandmothers out there. And I will see you guys again soon. Sorry guys, this might be a little rocky as I end this. See you next time.